partly due to the fact that the P30
Good day and welcome to another interesting episode of your program, Infrastructure Weekly. I am Abosedi Omowi, your guide on the program. On today's episode, we will be taking you around projects in the power works and housing sectors and also the railways. We will be back after this time out. Don't go away.
Coming together of opportunities, and this is what
infrastructure is the backbone of development, which explains the Buhari government's effort at bridging the facility gap. Infrastructure Weekly is a television package designed to bring you latest information on hundreds of development projects going on in various sectors all over the nation.
There is no state in Nigeria today where you will not see our contractors busy at work.
Power generation, rural electrification, road rehabilitations, national housing scheme, construction of roads and rail lines across the country, you name it.
We are now able to produce 7,000 megawatt of power. That is no longer debatable.
Infrastructure Weekly is Nigerians working together for a better Nigeria. So be better informed to take better informed decisions. Watch Infrastructure Weekly, showing on Channels Television Thursdays 2:30 p.m., NTA Network Wednesdays 5 p.m., and QTV News Fridays at 8 p.m. Infrastructure Weekly, making development known.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll begin today in the housing sector and specifically the National Housing Program project site in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The project, which took off like others under the Buhari administration in 2016, is currently at 75% completion, according to the team leader and director of architectural services in the Ministry of Power Works and Housing, Mosumade Odusonya, who took Infrastructure Weekly team round the site in Ibadan. Let's take a listen.
The National Housing Project site in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, is now at 75% completion, according to the project team leader, Mosumade Odusonya, who also dabbles as a director of architectural services in the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing. The project, which was started in 2016, like its counterparts in 33 other states across the country, has a variety of houses such as 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, condominium, and a block of flats. While most of the 2 and 3 bedroom apartments are ready and slated for pre-handover inspections, others are at various stages of completion.
At least 75% completion. We are doing let me just break them down. For the 3 bedrooms, we are doing 10 blocks. Out of the 10 blocks, only 2 blocks are outstanding. For the 2 bedrooms, we are doing 20 blocks. Out of the 20 blocks, they are at various stages of completion, but at least 2 of them have achieved painting.
He added that other parts of the project will soon be ready with rigorous supervision and insistence and adherence to standards. He assured that when the houses are ready for occupation by the owners, they will have cause to thank the federal government for a well-executed project.
Some are in the middle of the work. They have commenced on their finishes. It's just internal fixtures and painting that remains.
Other associated infrastructure also gradually been made ready with the central water system, electrification project, and the access road are all ongoing.
The federal government has approved a rent-to-own mortgage scheme through the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for over 3,000 houses all over the country. This, according to the federal government, is to allow workers have access to home in an affordable manner. The mortgage will be for property not exceeding 15 million naira and will be for as long as 30 years. Moving on from there, we proceed now to the railways, where the opening of the Abuja Metro Line, ongoing works on the Lagos to Ibadan end of the Lagos-Kano Rail Project, and the Ajaokuta-Itakpe-Warri Rail Project have gradually beamed the searchlight on the sector. The Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Lai Mohammed, while inspecting the Metro Line project in Abuja, said the delivery of the project is a confirmation of government's desire to find a lasting solution to infrastructure decay.
This tour is in continuation of the nationwide inspection of federal government's infrastructural projects by the Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism. The project, which was originally awarded in 2007 and reached advanced stage of completion by the Jonathan's administration in 18 months, the Buhari administration completed it after taking over.
Right now, that is being tested, it's free. Everybody can take everyone on this are light to it. They don't pay anything because we want to make sure that it works. This period is also to find out where we need to improve upon. But in order that the country is moving, please let us emphasize the positive aspects of this country. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, there was no light rail system in Abuja. Nobody can deny that.
He assures that the government will remain focused on its promises to deliver on key projects that will improve the quality of lives of Nigerians, urging all to criticize based on facts and stressing that emphasis should be on the positive aspects of the country.
The station is not looking for quick fixes because quick fixes don't work. We are laying foundation for an enduring infrastructural development. We are painstaking, we are very transparent, but we remain focused and committed. Despite what people say, every day we remain focused in delivering to the people. What we are doing might not be appreciated.
Secretary Federal Capital Territory Administration Transport Secretariat Kayode Okpeifa says 48 more coaches are expected to be delivered. Currently, 3 coaches are already on ground for commercial operations.
We mentioned that we made this project at about 53%. And not just that, there were also project management issues, and we solved them. And the more important thing for us is to get it started, and it has started. The coaches will not come as 48 at once. They will come in batches. So between now and the next first 15 months, you will have seen some of the coaches arrive. And you see in the rail, like the minister mentioned, something like the Minister of Power will mention, it's incremental. You bring 48 coaches and lump it on the track today, then you start talking of capacity. So we are going to increase as we go along, and we want to assure Nigeria, give us the benefit of doubt.
The rail is designed to calibrate the challenges of transportation of the metropolis, and it is the second after South Africa. When fully completed, the Abuja Rail project is expected to link neighboring states, easing traffic congestion within the FCT. The project has employed over 5,000 Nigerians during the course of the work, and currently over 95% of local content.
Join us after this break for more on the program. Stay tuned.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office, you can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government coffers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
Thanks so much for staying tuned. The program is still Infrastructure Weekly. You can send your comments, requests and feedback on the program to us on Facebook at facebook.com/Infrastructure Weekly and on Twitter at infra_weekly. The federal government is currently developing a medium-term sector strategy for the development of infrastructure across the 3 subsectors of the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing. This was disclosed after the 4th management retreat of the Power, Works and Housing Ministry in Calabar, the Cross River State capital. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, who spoke at the retreat, urged members of management of the ministry to see it as one indivisible entity designed to address Nigeria's infrastructure deficit. Let's take a listen.
The issue of teamwork and patriotism is one that this gathering of the top management team of the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing has at the top of its agenda. First to speak was the minister, who said the need to bridge the nation's infrastructure deficit is one that demands the full attention of everybody in the ministry. He added that patriotism and teamwork will be key in achieving the aims and objectives of the federal government.
And all those who seek to come to the public service to join the fray must recognize that it is a team that wins. And if the team understands that they are bound together in success and sometimes in adversity, they can overcome almost all their challenges.
He gave a status report of happenings in the sectors under the ministry.
3 years ago, around May 2015, the story was that transmission was the biggest problem on the power sector grid. The story was that there was not enough power to supply. The story was that the distribution companies were complaining that they didn't have enough energy to give to Nigerians. We were distributing averagely 2,690 megawatts. That story also has changed. Distribution has reached 5,222, an all-time national high. Transmission has reached 7,000. Generation has reached 7,000. The problems are not finished, but clearly the point I wish to make is that we have made progress.
The Permanent Secretary Works in the ministry later gave an overview of what the retreat seeks to achieve.
The topics to be discussed were carefully selected to achieve the objective. They aim to focus attention on the key competencies, goal setting, and achieving good health and effective communication. As the theme states, the top management retreat will help us set goals and achieve them.
For comments, feedback and inquiries, you can get in touch with us on any of the social media handles showing on your screen. The federal government has again reiterated its commitment to bridging Nigeria's infrastructure deficit. The government also added that it will continue to put measures in place to expand the frontier of commerce between the nation's communities through the provision of critical infrastructure. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, disclosed this while speaking on the award of 349 billion naira Kwanga Jos Bauchi Gombe Road project. The project, which will bring the people of Nasarawa, Plateau, Bauchi and Gombe State closer together, is one many stakeholders, including the Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong, have hailed as a historic development.
The Ministry of Power, Works and Housing presented the request for the approval of the award of the Akwanga Jos Bauchi Gombe Road, which was approved for the sum of 348.594 billion, a total of 420 kilometers, 420.6 kilometers. The project scope is the expansion of the current two single-lane highway into a dual carriageway. Now, what is significant about this is that it completes the integration of the North Central with the Southeast and the Northeast. You will recall that Council had previously approved the award of the Abuja-Kefi Road and the Akwanga-Lafia-Makurdi Road, all of this in the North Central. You will also recall that In May this year, Council also approved the award of the 9th mile Enugu to Makurdi Road. So that is the connection now from the southeast to the north central. So what you have today is the Gombe to Akwanga, which is from the northeast through Bauchi, Jos, down to the north central. And that completes the spine of the major movement of agro-produce really and other related produce. The construction period is 48 months.
And the road will collapse.
Join us after this break as we hit the home stretch.
Coming together of opportunities. And this is what
Infrastructure is the backbone of development, which explains the Buhari government's effort at bridging the facility gap. Infrastructure Weekly is a television package designed to bring you latest information on hundreds of development projects going on in various sectors all over the nation.
There is no state in Nigeria today where you will not see our contractors busy at work.
Power generation, rural electrification, road rehabilitations, national housing scheme, construction of roads and rail lines across the country, you name it.
We are now able to produce 7,000 megawatt of power. That is no longer debatable.
Infrastructure Weekly is Nigerians working together for a better Nigeria. So be better informed to take better informed decisions. Watch Infrastructure Weekly, showing on Channels Television Thursdays 2:30 p.m., NTA Network Wednesdays 5 p.m., and QoTV News Fridays at 8 p.m. Infrastructure Weekly, making development known.
To the power sector now, where the federal government says the policy of eligible customer is now yielding the desired result. Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, who was speaking at the 29th edition of the Power Sector Stakeholders Meeting in Mina, said the result will become more obvious in the coming days. Let's take a listen.
Nigerians across every region of the country have cried out for many years over the worsening supply of electricity. However, the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government, through its Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, is implementing several policies to ensure Nigerians get reliable power supply in their households and businesses. The eligible customer policy introduced on the 15th of May 2017 is part of efforts by the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing to improve the distribution of electricity and facilitate better power supply to consumers who consume up to 2 megawatts and above. The ministry says 5 industrial customers are now benefiting from the policy and that a list of 26 industrial customers are also seeking to benefit from the policy.
The benefit is just beginning to trickle down. And this is the analogy that I made about policies that it takes time to evolve and to have impact. And those benefiting from the policy are taking their power directly from Ijenko, who incidentally is our host today, Mrs. Mainstream Energy Limited. We also have a list, I am told from the reports, of 26 industrial customers who are seeking to benefit from the policy. But I'm glad to hear from Mainstream that so far for the first 2 months of the operation of the policy, the invoices they have issued, they have achieved 100% collection, which is what we want to see in the industry. So it means that in one breath, parts of the policy is working, but we intend to monitor the policy more closely, to hear from the beneficiaries and all of the participants, and to ensure that this constitutes a win-win for everybody.
Another policy is the energizing of educational institutions and markets. These are federal government-led initiatives based on the approval of the Rural Electrification Implementation Plan by the President in 2016 to provide access to power for rural dwellers and vulnerable citizens. The minister had proposed that his ministry is to use 6 more hydro dams that have been abandoned for decades to power 37 federal government universities and some markets as anchors which are privately funded.
There are currently 15 markets under contemplation with Ariaria, Sabongari and Sura markets in Aba, Kano and Lagos as flagships. The 6 hydro dams are to be concessioned to private operators to build, operate and transfer. Our thinking is simple. While the whole value chain and power privatization gradually evolves, it is possible to create oases of success by showing to our children that they can have reliable power while in school. If that is a reason to get children to school and keep them there, certainly no good business should oppose this. Indeed, it seems to me sensible to expect that the future of today's businesses and even the future of our government rests solely on the quality of education that the current generation of students get.
The provision of 701 billion naira payment assurance guaranteed by government is to give comfort to investors in the generation side of the value chain.
We continue to forge ahead to achieve a 100% recovery by implementing a very robust capacity and expansion program. Further, additional capacities are being recovered with the ongoing rehabilitation of the 80 megawatt Unit 1G7 at Kainji, which contract was awarded to GE and will be completed in the fourth quarter of 2019. We are also in the process of awarding the contract for the recovery of an additional capacity of 96.4 megawatt to Marubeni for the rehabilitation of Unit 2G6 at Jebel, which has been out of operation since 2009, which would commence in 2019.
Stakeholders pledge to be responsive to policies of the government to deliver quality electricity for the benefits of Nigerians.
701 billion naira payment assurance guarantee, which our host has referred to, and to say that this was not in any law. It was a creation of the Buhari government to give comfort to investors in the generation side of the value chain that they will be paid for the power they supply. Since its implementation in 2017, recovery of payments by GENCOs has increased from 20% to 80%, and the power supply capacity has improved from 4,000 to 7,000 megawatts. And there's an appetite now by other players to participate in the generation side of the business.
We must not forget the various initiatives and interventions of the federal government to ensure that the power sector remains viable, and we must continue to ask ourselves how we can contribute our own quota in ensuring that the power sector survives. At this juncture, I will again laud the Honorable Minister of Power, Works and Housing on the declaration of eligible customers, which comes at a time when market participants were seeking stabilization of revenue and development of a matured market. This move by the Honorable Minister has also increased our shareholder confidence and improved our commitment towards speeding up our various initiatives, all centered around an improved power sector in Nigeria.
Revamping the power sector as directed towards providing reliable electricity for markets in rural areas and universities across the nation is to ensure a sustainable economy for Nigerians.
The market men and women were contributing about 10 million naira per day to buy energy from small generator owners who provided them energy for only 4 hours per day. And we decided to replace that with a gas system that provides them energy for the whole day and at much lower the cost, not only in terms of cash, but in terms of environmental health. So those are the kind of interventions that the Buhari administration feels its responsibility to drive in order to reach vulnerable people. And it might interest you that the entrepreneurs who are trying to produce this power in our area are investing their money, contrary to what you hear that it is government. It's not government. And they are not asking government for bank guarantees. They are not asking for CBN rates. They are not asking for all sorts of conditions that you find. They're just believing in the market and going in there to play. And we think that these places, just like the universities of course are government funded, the intervention to ensure that children have electricity in their schools.
Operators in the industry during the monthly meeting hosted by Mainstream Energy Solutions Limited were fully represented at the highest executive management levels, including managing directors and representatives of generating companies, distribution companies, and the Transmission Company of Nigeria, as well as various government agencies responsible for the regulation and development of the sector.
This NERC is now fully constituted, that this should be our valedictory meeting. So the NERC as the regulator will take over the meeting. I will continue with my team in the ministry to play our oversight, policy and directive role. And so this being the 29th meeting is the valedictory ministers meeting. So it will be next meeting in full from next month. And we will continue to give all the support that we can to ensure that the industry delivers on its undoubted promise.
They all agree with the minister that there is hope for the nation as government implementation of policies are gradually recording successes.
That is it on this week's episode of the program. Join us again next week for another interesting package. Until then, I am Abosede Omowi. Bye for now.